Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to The Lobby, GameSpot's weekly video game hangout. I'm your host, Mike Mahardy. I'm here with a bunch of great people, as always. Peter Brown, a regular on the show.
Yes.
What do you do here?
That's a good
Well, when you figure that out, let me know. People have been commenting on your coffee already in the chat. Last week you had armored coffee. The week before it was teetering on the edge. What's it going to do this week?
Actually. Did you like that?
What's it going to do this week?
It's nothing.
Oh, just a normal coffee?
I don't know what to tell you guys.
I guess even that is kind of a change up from last time. Callie Plaggy.
Hi, it's me.
What's up?
Nothing much. I saw more anime yesterday. You know, that's just what I do.
Is that like a news? Don't you always watch anime?
Oh, I saw Your Name, which was fantastic.
Your Name?
Yeah, it's a film. And it's really good.
And
so that's what I've been up to.
But you're gearing up for some Star Wars, right?
I am. I'm going to a Star Wars celebration. So I leave really late. I leave on Friday. Everybody else is already on their way.
To Orlando?
To Orlando,
Sunshine.
Florida.
It is the Sunshine State, actually. That joke doesn't work this time.
What, no, aren't we the Sunshine State?
Do you always say
We're
the
the Golden
State?
Oh.
Okay. Moving on from that one. We were both joking. We'll get back to more Star Wars later in the show. We're going to be talking about Battlefront 2's leak trailer. Michael Hyam, not your first time in the lobby, but first time in the new set.
It's the first time this year, though.
Yeah, this is our resident cool guy, if you can't tell already.
Yeah, I'm tight.
But no, Michael, what do you do here for people who haven't seen you?
I do tech coverage with Jimmy Thang. So video cards, PC components. We're going to talk about Scorpio, but I did a pretty dope video about things you should watch out for Scorpio, and we did like a tech analysis. So
6 things you should know.
I'm smarter than I actually seem. So
Just be
Trust.
evaporating anybody's concerns right away. But yeah, we will talk about Scorpio as well. We've got a full show today. But I do want to get through a couple of news items and a giveaway, as we've been doing the last few weeks on GameSpot. Shiva, who runs our Twitter account, will be tweeting in a few minutes about. Do you have that keyboard?
I do.
The Corsair Strafe keyboard. Michael, you know more about this keyboard than I do. You tell people about it.
Corsair Strafe is a mechanical keyboard with, I believe it has red mechanical switches, which is linear, no tactile feel. I actually like this keyboard quite a bit. And you get some pretty dope textured keycaps right there, so you never lose track of your WA as a D.
Sweet.
And it's lit red. Actually, it's quite literally lit. So yeah, we're gonna be giving that away, I guess.
You're just waiting for that word.
You really want to say it's lit.
So Shiva, who manages our Twitter account, will be tweeting from the GameSpot account. If you don't follow us, please do so, and then retweet said tweet about the giveaway. And then later on the week, we'll pick a random winner in North America, possibly only U.S. I think.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, usually.
So yeah, get on that, and later in the week we'll find out who won. And then I do have a couple of news items before we get into our main segments. Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, price and release date revealed for the spin-off featuring Nadine Ross and Chloe Fraser from Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 4 and 2, respectively. It'll be $40. It'll be out on August 22nd for PS4. It's Naughty Dog's first spin-off for the series, and this is from what we understand, the last entry in the Uncharted universe. Before that we see The Last of Us 2 whenever that actually releases. So yeah, you'll be able to play that at the end of the summer, kind of right around when Shadow of War comes out, if you're looking for a different experience than that. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. Breath of the Wild has another patch out now, and in true Nintendo patch update fashion, they didn't really go into details.
Doesn't it say it makes for a more pleasant gameplay experience?
Yes, the patch from Breath of the Wild, according to Nintendo, this is what they said, it allows for a more pleasant gaming experience. So that last one was the one that kind of helped the frame rate out on Switch and Wii U, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure.
Yeah, and it looked much better when you're in those heavily forested areas. This one, again, that's what the patch notes say. Adjustments have been made to make for a more pleasant gaming experience. So if you want that, go for it.
Alrighty.
If you're not enjoying Zelda enough already. And last on the news item list, Diablo 3's Necromancer closed beta is live now. So if you previously registered for that, it should show up on your Blizzard account management page. The Necromancer from Diablo 2 fame. Tay's going to kill me if that's wrong. Eric Tay in the back. I think Diablo 2, yeah. It specializes in bringing back dead enemies, kind of those kind of attacks. And this is on just PC right now, but when this actual major patch releases, it'll have new areas, more rifts, refined rifts, and more areas in the adventure mode for the game, which I'm looking forward to because I always Love an excuse to get back to Diablo 3. And that is everything on our news item list today. So now, as Michael previously alluded to, we are going to get into Project Scorpio talk because Digital Foundry releases specs. Was it last week?
Yeah, it was last week, Thursday.
And there was that stream, right? And you guys came in early to cover it, or at least it released early. So, and then Pete obviously follows the kind of hardware stuff pretty frequently.
Yeah.
Callie, you a hardware person?
I built my own PC. That's my
Ooh,
extent.
that's more than what
I know.
say.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So let me just start with the basics. Michael, hit me with the specs. What is this like?
I'm not gonna run down all the specs because that can get
No, do
pretty
every
dry.
single one of them.
Oh, okay.
No, just kidding.
Well, has an 8-core CPU, 2.3 gigahertz, based on Jaguar architecture. It's improved this time. They actually do have 6 teraflops for. In layman's terms, teraflops is just a measurement of how powerful something is graphically. And it seems that they're actually hitting that. They have 12 gigs of RAM on that, 8 dedicated to games, 4 for the dashboard. So, and I'm anticipating that's actually going to be a pretty big deal because, getting in and out of the Xbox dashboard can kind of be a pain. So if you dedicate RAM to that specifically, I imagine it would be smoother. I sure hope so because that interface can be rough sometimes. Yeah. So that's and it's gonna have a vapor chamber cooling. You'll be vaping in your.
This thing can vape.
It's gonna
Damn.
It's gonna be
do
vaping.
everything.
No, but vapor chamber cooling is actually a pretty. I've heard it's an efficient way of keeping your stuff pretty cool, man.
Yeah, without having too many fans going as well, right?
Yeah, so
it's another passive
So
solution.
it's quieter.
Yeah, it shouldn't be like a jet engine because
Right.
yeah. So those are kind of the basic specs, but you can check all that information out on several websites. But the main thing though for me was that Forza Tech demo that they showed off. So they were showing off native 4K for a console, which I think is pretty impressive. It was running 60 frames per second, but you'll see a lot in the headlines. 4K 60 FPS. Scorpio is going to be so dope. But it's just the Forza Tech demo. Other games are going to perform differently. So, saying that everything's going to be 60 FPS that's probably more. I'm willing to bet it's not going to be true.
And this is also the Forza games are hard surface 3D models that are not as diverse in terms of textures and all the different layers of textures that go into handling lighting as something like an organic model would be, like a scene full of hundreds of humans, right?
Right.
One car is very different than a lot of that.
Yeah, they did in the demo they maxed out how many cars they could put on there to kind of stress test it a little bit. But cars don't animate also, and they don't explode, and there's not as
play
many
Transformers.
Not in Forza they don't. Not in Forza they don't. But so in terms of particle effects and post processing,
It's an
we'll see more.
easy comparison to make, but back in the day when PS4 Pro was on the horizon and then the Scorpio was still kind of this nebulous thing, Microsoft kept saying it was going to be more powerful. That's the easy comparison, but how does it compare to the PS4 Pro, at least from these the specs we've gotten?
Well, it's about 40%. It's supposed to be about 43% more powerful than the PS4 Pro. So that was the expectation, that it was going to be more powerful than the PS4 Pro. So there's no surprise there. And doing because PS4 Pro doesn't do native 4K, I don't believe. And there are maybe some
It
cases.
doesn't have a workaround
I
to
think there are
accomplish
a
it.
couple games or other games that it will scale, it'll render at a slightly lower resolution and then bump it up to put it in
Okay.
4K.
Yeah. So if Scorpio says they're going to do native 4K, they obviously have to be more powerful than the PS4 Pro. Another thing is, what compromises are they going to have to make for future games? Because as games go on, they're going to be more and more demanding. So if you want to keep up with 4K, you're going to have to scale back other things like maybe draw distance or post-processing or texture quality. But it is more powerful than the PS4 Pro.
What does it mean for the cloud kind of, when they were running off the cloud, when they were showing off Crackdown 3 at first? Does the Scorpio mean anything for that, advancing that, or could you do that off a normal Xbox One right now?
That was a couple years ago. I mean, the cloud stuff is totally independent from the console in terms of processing power.
Right.
I mean, maybe they could try to do a glimmer of what they were showcasing with Crackdown 2, which was literally fully destructible environments in a multiplayer scenario, which is really crazy.
Yeah, the whole cityscape was just toppling over.
Yeah, and not in a way that was pre-animated. It was all dynamic physics-driven stuff, which is nuts. Every little bit and piece of a building animating.
What about if you were to compare this to to a nice PC? How would this
Okay.
compare?
Oh, Jimmy's actually going to be working on that, is trying to build a PC that's similar to the power of Xbox or Project Scorpio. Right now, I would say, well, in terms of teraflops, the RX 480, the Radeon RX 480 is about 5.8 teraflops. So I guess there's no one-to-one comparison that you can make in terms of PC hardware. But if you can do a rough estimate, the RX 480, I've heard people saying that this can be as powerful as a GTX 1070, and that's a really good graphics card that you can do 4K in some instances with like medium to high settings. So if it's in that range, then it's a pretty beefy console.
And we don't know the price yet, but what would a comparable PC, like what would that cost to build? Especially with that kind of graphics card.
I think you could hit that for like $700 to $800 just on the PC alone, if you don't factor in because an operating system is going to cost $100. So if you don't consider that, like hardware alone, probably about $700
You're
to
not
$800.
including like monitor and keyboard and all that, but just
that's all.
the actual guts of the
Yeah,
PC.
probably about $700 to $800. So.
It's a good segue. I was actually going to kind of go around the table. We do have a GameSpot Q&A up on the site about what like a bunch of our editors and a couple of producers think about the price, what the price will be for the Scorpio, as it's not announced yet. And then I just wanted to ask you guys, Michael, what do you think it'll be?
I said it's going to be $500 because if it's any cheaper, that hardware is actually like pretty damn dope. So I imagine it's going to be expensive to make. So if it's going to be less than $500, I would be surprised. That would be sweet because then that's cheaper for everyone else to buy. But I can't see it being any higher than $500 because then like who the hell's going to buy it? Like I could get when come holiday season, PS4 Pros are probably going to be. I'm not saying that they are going to, but it's likely that they'll have like a $50 price cut. So around $350 compared to this Scorpio that would be $500. Even that, thinking about that is a pretty wide gap in thinking, oh, what console do I want to buy? So I can't see it any higher than $500. But this is pretty powerful hardware in the console space. So that's what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying?
Kelly, what about you?
Yeah, I imagine it would be around 500. I think it was Jimmy in that Q&A was talking about the point of entry for PS3 was so high initially, but the value of what you were getting was actually really good. Like it was the cheapest Blu-ray player you could get at the time. And so I think just learning from that, consumers not understanding that right away at face value, I don't think it would go higher than that, just because even if a comparable PC would be $700 or $800, and if this was $500, people don't necessarily know that. And so I think it would be hard to convince people to pick this over, say, a PS4 Pro if it went any higher than $500.
Pete, what about you?
I don't know. I think the bigger question rather than the hardware is what Microsoft is really trying to do with this product. So right now the Xbox One S is $250. In my mind, there's absolutely no way they're going to double that price for a system that plays the exact same games, because then you're immediately saying to your customers like, well, I don't even know what that message would be. Like you're trying to retain like the most enthusiastic people, but Microsoft is not doing so hot in terms of retaining their audience or putting out great games. So what are they going to play on this system, right? But if you go up against the PS4 Pro and they're trying to win that audience back, hey, if they can go $400 and match that price, they might convince people and tip them over with the value that Callie was talking about. And it's fair, if you look in the past, like the history of gaming consoles, companies sell systems at a loss all the time.
Yeah.
So even if this costs $400 for them to make, they will lose that money to get consumers back because they make far more on software sales than they ever do on hardware.
Yeah,
so I'm saying 400.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't. PS4 Pro has how many games that have like better versions on PS4 Pro? I mean, one of the first ones was Titanfall 2, and then I know Uncharted 4, the original Last of Us, they were updating. Naughty Dog updated those for the PS4 Pro, but like you said, it's not immediately apparent, aside from upgraded hardware, what the Scorpio's wider objective is.
You've got to buy a new TV.
Yeah.
I mean, what point is that 4K gaming if you don't have a 4K TV, right?
Well, let me tell you about that. It's just really quick. So I think that for me, this is kind of important for people who are still on 1080p TVs, is that Scorpio is going to super sample your game. So you'll get like that. So super sampling is a type of anti-aliasing. So it'll take a 4K image, and then it'll shrink it down to 1080p. So you'll get like sort of that pixel density that you would get in 4K, and then you like kind of condense it.
Without
so
having to apply the anti-aliasing.
Yeah, so it's going to look super fine. So that's what you can get. Like there's like I'm not gonna get a Scorpio, hook it up to a 1080p TV and like get no benefit. So there is that.
Oh, of course, yeah. But I think if they're going to sell this thing for $500, like I think that's really speaking to an audience that is the high-end enthusiast, and they want to get the most out of this thing, the most that they can for their $500. If they're just getting a little bit better, not quite anti-aliasing, but anti-aliasing like effect, is that enough to spend another $250?
See, I don't know.
That's the catch. That's what I'm not sure about.
At this point, Michael, does it seem appealing to you? Do you think you're going to buy one day one?
For me personally, no, because I don't really play anything on Xbox, man. Like everything that I want to play is either on PS4, and for multiplats, I play on PC because I have a fairly decent PC. But if I didn't have a console or this generation of consoles, I still don't know if I would make that jump just because of exclusives. But for my taste, I'm as much as I am into PC hardware and like the most swagged out PCs that we can like build. I mean, I don't care all that much about graphical fidelity because when I think about the games that are important to me, they're all like independent games, like almost retro style 16-bit. So
you don't need all that graphical fidelity for Undertale,
Yeah, it's like one of my favorite games of all time. But show me some games, man. Like that's what I want, and I'm hoping that Microsoft makes a big splash in E3 and gives us a reason to, like, people who are on the fence about getting an Xbox or are interested in Scorpio but still don't need that reason to buy one. Show me something at E3, yo. Like, give me a reason to buy that.
Yeah, it's like, as big of a Halo fan as I am, Halo 6 might not be enough to push me over the edge if they show it at E3. But you don't think they're going to?
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying
gotcha.
no. That would be like the worst thing they could do is to hang their hat on a new Halo to sell this new console. That would just show how incredibly short-sighted this company is being, because that's not anything special. That's not the sort of thing that's going to get people to rally around a console when it hasn't worked this generation yet.
Especially considering Scalebound's recent cancellation. That was an exclusive. Crackdown 3, we don't know what the hell is going on with it, really.
Well, especially with Scalebound, it was like it was an IP that was like new. It was something like really experimental and exciting. When you look at games like, Persona and Nier aren't new, but when you look at what those games are doing, it's so different than the status quo.
Yeah.
So if it's just Forza and Halo, I could care less.
Yeah. I sent Jean-Luc a few screenshots earlier. They did just release dev kit prototype images of the Scorpio. It looks pretty good. See if you can throw those up now. But it looks kind of sort of like it looks pretty similar to an S in the sense that, it's the pretty sleek white thing, but instead of the, I don't know what these, is the, I don't know, Michael, what are we looking at here in terms of this front one?
Look at an Xbox, man. Well, I think that it kind of looks like, because that's an original Xbox One to its right.
Yeah.
So I imagine it would be the same size since you got like all that dope hardware in there. But I think me and Jimmy were looking at this and like, are those 5 buttons on the left? And what are they for? But I think those are LEDs for like, player 1 through 4 connected.
Oh, and then is that the disc tray underneath it in the black? Okay.
Yeah. So I don't think those are buttons. I think those are LED lights actually. Looks deceiving.
It could be buttons to switch between different like builds of games. Like I've seen Sony like PS3 and PS4 dev kits that have like similar sort of things on them. I don't know what they do because I haven't used them, but those were buttons on the old kits for other systems I saw. Just to sort of help switch things fast.
Okay.
Like, are you saying maybe those won't be on the final?
Oh, no. I don't think those will be there at all.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It's an Xbox. It looks like an Xbox.
Yeah. So it's a nice looking system.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
Microsoft just needs a better selection of games. That is the biggest hang up right now.
Yeah.
Totally. The reason I still, because I was Xbox last generation primarily, and I play multiplayer games with my dad on Xbox. Like that's why, the reason I'm still on Xbox ever, because I think the common complaint is like there's not enough games, but as far as multi-platinum stuff, like if all of your friends are on Xbox, you're going to stay on Xbox. But I don't think that's enough of a reason to go to Scorpio.
Right, you could spend $200 on a refurbished Xbox One.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. If anybody wants to know more in-depth info about the Xbox One or the Project Scorpio, we have 6 things you should know about Scorpio, which you wrote, Michael?
Yeah, I wrote that and I voiced it.
That's up on GameSpot. We're doing some comparisons to PS4 Pro and PC more in depth. You can go see all that on GameSpot and let us know what you think in the comments. And for those just joining us, we do have the Twitch and YouTube and GameSpot chats up here in the studio. See what you're saying. But yeah, So let us know what you think about Project Scorpio. All right, moving on to Overwatch. I originally wrote down Insurrection, but apparently it has since been called Uprising. I think Insurrection was the French one.
Yeah, that's. I think
Something
I heard
like
something
that.
about that. It was translated. Yeah, it's Uprising.
So it is the next update to Overwatch. Blizzard's been pretty great about doing these community events between Dr. Junkenstein's last for Halloween. They did the Olympics one before that. They did the Chinese New Year. They did a holiday one that you essentially just get more skins, new game modes with May's Snowball Fight. That's essentially what it was. I forget what it was actually called. But now we have Uprising, and it is, in terms of story, which, Overwatch is pretty light on story, but it's still really good about adding these morsels in like all over the place to flesh out this great world. And this one is a prequel. Apparently, it's Tracer's first mission, humans versus robots, 7 years before modern Overwatch story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd say Overwatch is bigger on lore than it is actual
Right.
narrative.
That's a better way to put it.
And yeah, so this is definitely just kind of building out Tracer's origin more. She is kind of their poster child. So
Right. She's it's more of a Dr. Junkenstein's or Junkenstein.
I would say Steen. 'Cause we
Junkenstein.
say, no, Stein.
Junkenstein's.
I was going to say we
Berenstein
say
Bears.
Frankenstein.
Berenstein Bears. But yeah, it's more of a horde mode for cooperative horde mode. And then, of course, there'll be skins, victory poses. There'll be all kinds of, just new aesthetic stuff as Overwatch is want to do with loot boxes and whatnot. Quickly, before I get into this next part of the segment, which I'm excited about, Michael, do you still constantly play Overwatch?
So with multiplayer games, I've noticed as I've gotten older is that I jump in and out of them, and I have phases.
Yeah.
So when Overwatch first dropped, I played that for like a month straight.
Okay.
And then I waited like 3 months, and then I jumped on it again for another month period, and then when I came here, I was like, okay, now I'll jump into it again. But the thing is that whenever you add extra game modes, I'm always intrigued by that. Like I'm down to play new modes and keep things fresh, because as great as the base game is, that having extra stuff on the side to do kind of adds to how much I love a game overall. So having this horde mode, like when Halo came out with their horde type of mode, like that was dope as hell.
And a firefight and
that was it.
ODST.
Firefight, yeah. So that was sweet, and Gears of War when they had their horde mode,
That was like the
that's
progenitor
sweet
to all of
too.
it, yeah.
Yeah. So
We do have Joey Yee here in our studio.
this
This is him playing right now as Reinhardt. Yeah, there we go. There he is. Got his keyboard.
Good,
yeah,
dog.
Joey's gonna be playing while we talk about Overwatch's new update. But yeah, he's playing Reinhardt. I would ask him questions about Overwatch, but he doesn't have a mic. No, I don't know how often he plays Reinhardt. But this right here is Uprising, is that horde mode I was just mentioning here on the London map, Kings Row. So yeah, it's about the Omnic Uprising back in the day before Overwatch's modern timeline, as it were. Callie, do you play much Overwatch, or do you plan on getting back into it with this?
Yeah, like Michael, I do the phases thing. So when it first came out, I was playing every single night, and then I had enough people playing that we'd always have someone to swap in when someone had to leave. Like it was, we were playing constantly. And then I sort of dropped off from it, and I've been really wanting to go back, especially because I haven't played like Sombra or anything yet. And
Sombra's awesome.
I'm a Mercy main though, and I'm very loyal to her.
Right.
And that intrigues me about this mode, because this mode is Reinhardt, Torbjorn, Mercy, and Tracer. If you don't play the all heroes version, so I'm just always excited to have a reason to play Mercy.
Yeah, these updates are perfect for bringing me back in. They're great for rewarding loyal players, and Overwatch is always good about that. I mean, even if you're like a Hero of the Storm player, they're adding Genji to it soon, right? They update it. They've been updating it for years. But Overwatch, these are great for pulling me back in. When May's Snowball Fight, or again, I might be butchering that name. When that came back out, I got back into it for the skins. I'm a Zarya main, Zarya and Ana. I think I actually have been liking Ana more, but I just need some more Hussein, who's in the chat, to know that I'm better with Zarya than he is. This mode looks fun. I didn't actually play a lot of the Junkenstein's Horde mode because there was only 4. I thought maybe they would let you select any character you want, but it was only 4. It was like McCree, Mercy, I think it was Reinhardt, and I forget the last characters. But yeah, this is more based around Tracer's story. I think it's her first mission with Overwatch. Before it kind of dissipated, and then obviously Winston brought them back together later on, according to the lore. But Joey, you're doing pretty well. You can't respond.
He says thank you.
We can hear him.
Yeah. But yeah, so this is live This is live right now, so you can go play this if you want to. But yeah, this is the Horde mode. And then, of course, tons of loot boxes and get you new skins and aesthetics and whatnot.
I'm really sad I missed.
Damore is in the YouTube chat.
Dang.
He's feeling it right now.
Wow. I'm still bummed I don't have Mercy's Witch skin.
Oh, yeah, that one was really good.
Yeah.
Speaking of Tamar Hussein, one thing we wanted to highlight this show, Tamar Hussein, for those who don't know, he's our UK editor, but he's also a very gifted interviewer. Pete, it was Harada he interviewed, right? The first time we kind of were like, wow, Tamar might be kind of...
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds about right. Huh?
Yeah.
Oh no! Oh yeah, Yoshinori Ono from Capcom.
Okay, and so Tamora recently did an interview with Jeff Kaplan, who has kind of become this like celebrity because for numerous reasons, but he does all these developer updates for Blizzard. He's on the Overwatch team. He's the director of Overwatch, and he's just this really like affable, personable guy. If you don't know who he is, but also there's of course this like YouTube channel that essentially just takes the developer updates and cuts up the words and makes new mashups. So he's kind of become this weird kind of halfway celebrity, halfway meme, I guess, on YouTube. But so Tamora sat down to interview him in the UK last week, a couple weeks ago. Yeah, and so we wanted to kind of highlight a few different parts of this interview, which I like to compare to two people walking hand in hand into the oblivion.
Just into the void.
Yes,
together
into outer space to die together. So we have screenshots of the interview I wanted to highlight, and then I actually have a gift for Tamora at the end. But yeah, Jean-Luc, can you pull up part of this? I'm going to kind of narrate this interview and kind of walk you through how crazy it was. All right, so the bold section is Tamora asking questions, and I wanted to show you what kind of shampoo do you use because your hair always looks great in the developer updates. Jeff Kaplan, oh, awesome. I don't even know the name of it. It's whatever my wife puts in the shower. I'm so terrible.
Follow-up question.
And follow-up question I added just to show you how quickly it went back to being professional. But I also pulled up an image that I kind of hastily made to show you how nice Jeff Kaplan's hair looks in these developer updates. It's just got this sheen.
But what if it gets in the wind? Like, that's what I'm worried about.
How does he
It looks
not
like
know?
it looks pretty windswept and boyish to me, and I really like it. And
I don't think you know what
Like how
windswept
he slicks the
means.
sides
That's
though.
not at all windswept.
That's pro level, dude. Like
Yeah.
how it's slick on the sides,
It's
because
really-
that's hard to keep up.
either way, I wish he actually told us what shampoo it was because I would use it.
How do you not know? Do you not shop for your own shampoo? Oh my god.
All right, moving on to the next question. Pull up the next screenshot, Jean-Luc, please. This interview gets better as it goes, honestly. Here we go. Does Winston like crunchy or smooth peanut butter? I think he likes both. I think if left to his own devices, it's smooth, but he wouldn't turn down crunchy either. Does Jeff Kaplan like crunchy or smooth peanut butter? I like smooth for sure, and I love peanut butter. I'm like Winston in that if I had one food that I had to survive off of for the rest of my life, it'd be peanut butter. Same. I once purchased 10 kilograms of peanut butter just because it was on discount. Nice. That's awesome. Again, this is an actual interview we conducted. Tamor Hussein conducted, and we put on GameSpot. Yeah. All right, Jean-Luc, next one, please. Did you hear the story about the girl who called another kid a Hanzo main? I did, yes. Do you endorse calling people a Hanzo main as a way to dunk on them? It's a pretty long response, but not as a derogatory way. We need to love and respect all mains, including Hanzo mains. It's a funny story. We actually reached out to the girl and her family. We sent them a note. The parents sent back this lovely letter to us and said, we appreciate it so much that you guys reached out. We've been talking to our daughter about not making fun of somebody for maining a certain hero. I think the whole community learned a little lesson in there. I actually sent Jean-Luc the JPEG of the actual like teacher complaint of the kid insulting the other one.
Yeah, I have no idea what that means.
Another
however, it was
student
clear.
took her pencil and she referred to him as a Hanzo main. I have no idea what this means. However, it was clearly meant as an insult. My embarrassing thing is that I was actually a Hanzo main for a while.
That's
You're not a
embarrassing.
Bastion
Yeah.
main.
All right. Next question, Jean-Luc, please. All right. This is fantastic. 2 to the 1, from the 1 to the 3. Oh, what's up? This is Jeff from the Overwatch team. The rest I had there. So I actually sent Jean-Luc the YouTube link. If you haven't seen this, it's got, I forget how many views, but this is what sparked it. Dino Flask is the YouTube channel. So it's like about a minute and a half. I actually thought it'd be worth it to play it in its entirety because it is fantastic and it highlights exactly why he has become a meme. Just so we can sit back and enjoy this and watch this right now. Have you seen this?
No.
I haven't
It's
seen
really
this.
good.
Where at though? Where we at?
Jean-Luc.
It's us again.
Jean-Luc. All right, it's gonna be a sec. He's finding it. It was
Do you
just
remember it? Can you do something?
Crunchy
Yeah,
peanut
well,
butter?
Tamor just goes 2 to the 1, from the 1 to the 3. It's really good. Here we go. It's funnier with audio.
I can imagine.
There's no audio.
audio.
Okay, well, we don't need to watch it. Just go to Dino Flask's YouTube channel. You can watch that, and you get a sense when you're actually watching it. And these get like, this has like 1.5 million views, I think, and this is what kickstarted it. So when he got announced, when he got introduced on the, I think maybe it was like the BAFTA Awards or GDC or something, someone said like, man made famous by one of the most famous like video game memes is coming on stage. But anyway, all right, here's the last part. This is where it got pretty weird, and it highlights Timur's kind of household. And I want to kind of paint this in a way. So next screenshot, Jean-Luc, please. Oh, this is the one. Are you aware that if you Google your name, this is the first picture that shows up? That is awesome. You should probably do something about that. What can I do? If you read So You've Been Publicly Shamed by John Ronson, he meets people that specialize in burying unwanted search engine results. Might be useful. Oh, really? Though, to be honest, I think it's a pretty good picture. Yeah, we could pull that down, but yeah, I was just corroborating Timur's thing, and that is true. That is the first photo that shows up. People enjoy screenshotting Jeff Kaplan when he is in compromising photos on developer updates. All right, Jean-Luc, pull up this next one, the one that gets really weird. This is the one I had mentioned I thought was up next. But here we go. This is Timur talking about his cat. All right, so he asked he said there was a rumor about this cat hero that they ditched. And so Jeff Kaplan said, we had done a lot of concepting. We had one hero who was just a hockey player, literally a hockey player. We later made Lucio's skin for a hockey player, but he was just a hockey player hero. Then there's this one hero, there's a huge internal debate on the team because we just loved it so much, but it didn't make. It was this jetpack, and it had this cat that laid in it like a cat does. Then every once in a while, it would paw at the controls. It was a cat in a jetpack. That was one of those moments that helped define Overwatch. We just went, yeah, that's probably too far. But yes, we had a cat hero. And Timur, being of sound mind, said, that sounds incredible and you should bring it back. And then I'm going to go, I have 2 cats named Kiki, and I want to really try to explain this as best as I can. He doesn't have 2 separate cats, each named Kiki. You will just be in Timur's apartment, look over, and see those 2 cats, and you'll call it it.
Collectively.
Collectively, the pair of cats is Kiki, because they don't leave each other's side.
They are collectively named Kiki. Yeah.
So I was reading that, and it was funny, but I was really disappointed that they didn't include that cat hero. So, as a gift to Timur and Jeff Kaplan, I reached out to Dan Auer on our design team. He's a designer here, and we made Kiki. We made the cat hero.
Oh my god!
Kiki with a jetpack. That is the collective pair of cats named Kiki with a jetpack. Just got a sick play of the game. I like to think of it as an offensive character. And yeah, that was my gift to Timur and Jeff Kaplan. Do with it what you will, Blizzard, if you want to. That is Dan Auer again. Anyway.
I'm so happy.
Yeah, that was my redemption for them not actually making the cat hero. So anyway, yeah, if you want to read that whole interview, it is on GameSpot.com. It is even weirder if you read the whole thing. So go do that and go play Overwatch. All right. Thank you, Jean-Luc. Timur Hussein is in our YouTube chat, and oh my god! All right, sweet. So let us know if you're going to be going back to Overwatch's Uprising update and what you think of that cat hero, and sign a petition or something to make it real. All right, here we go. In terms of another interview that we did on GameSpot, Scott Butterworth did a really good interview with Jake Solomon, the lead on XCOM 2 and XCOM over at Firaxis. And he, in the aftermath of Mass Effect Andromeda, wanted to talk to him about why some AAA games are kind of like doomed to fail before they're released, or why they are kind of going up against obstacles inherently. Jake Solomon, I believe, is at GDC, was giving a speech about why failure is important in game development and how to learn from it. So Scott wanted to reach out about that and use Mass Effect as a time peg, and we all kind of wanted to talk about that. AAA development is kind of an amorphous thing. It's hard to pin down, and obviously with publishers, with developers, there's a lot of money involved, and sometimes that is inherently at war with the creative pursuits of some developers. And we also kind of wanted to touch on how fan input affects development. And again, if you want to go read this whole interview, Scott Butterworth did a great job talking to Jake Solomon, and it's a great line of questioning, and it's really insightful if you want to know more about a pretty prolific AAA developer. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of wanted to, this isn't really too concrete of a segment, but I wanted to talk to you guys about what you think, in the aftermath of Mass Effect Andromeda. I don't know. It's interesting to look at what failure even means for a AAA game, because sometimes, even if it doesn't have critical reception, still sells. It can sell really well. Like Andromeda sold
Yeah.
a lot of copies, but critical reception I think overall was kind of disappointing. I think people are saying it's a fair game. It's good. A lot of people really like it. A lot of people dislike it. It's pretty polarizing, but I don't know. Michael, I don't know. What's your take on kind of just in general? What does it even mean to walk that tightrope between this publisher's aim of making money and the developer trying to be have creative pursuits?
Yeah, so there's one aspect I was kind of throwing around in my mind was the deadlines. Like the pending pressure of a deadline has to like get something done, whether it's good or not, whether you as a creative like artist or whatever, like it doesn't really matter what you think of it. You have to make that deadline. And so I think that when developers reach a point where it's like, okay, these things, like we can ship this product with these things missing or with these like aspects rough, and we'll patch it out later as long as we hit that deadline, because it's not self-imposed. And when it's not self-imposed, you can't it's harder. I imagine it's harder to be like, okay, we need like 6 more months before we push out a finished product.
Yeah, because you're like beholden to the publisher.
Yeah, but the bigger problem though is that you're beholden to money, because milestones are what these deadlines are actually referred to, and there are many of them throughout development. And if you miss them, you will not get paid as much as a studio working for a publisher in some cases. So you can actually miss your deadline, but you just won't make money back.
Oh, okay.
So it's partially the pressure the publisher is putting on the developer, but also the developer saying, we need this money to continue doing what we're doing and pay everyone and do everything that we expected to do on time. It's a weird mix of the two.
Yeah, because Andromeda had development studio troubles kind of throughout its 5 years. The people that had previously worked on Mass Effect games or other BioWare projects left the studio. I know Mac Walters was there throughout the whole thing, and he was there for release. But a lot of people looked at it and said this might have been a case of EA just wanting to get this game out right before the end of their fiscal year.
Yeah.
So they would have made more money in that fiscal year.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's not just like a one case scenario that I'm describing. Like especially the publishing date, that's super important, right? But there are things that you have to hit like during the course of development that can, if they're not given the time and attention they need, a year ahead of time, that's going to reflect in the end as well.
Yeah. And also another thing is that post-release defining failure is that like same thing with No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky sold incredibly well, but like what's the lasting impact of releasing that game is that by and large you leave a bad taste in everyone's mouth. And then so when Hello Games wants to make another game, or when BioWare comes out with their next project, you have this aftermath. Even though you sold your previous game incredibly well and made a lot of money, what's the effect on your future projects? Like, have you failed at that point, or are you more doomed to fail at that point because of this reputation from your previous game? So, I mean, that's kind of more nebulous, I suppose, but that's one thing to think about too as a consumer. When a game comes out, I'm like, oh, what have they done in the past? What was their previous project like? Should I be invested in this?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big determinant of how excited I am for a game. If I don't know if it's a new IP, but I know the developer, or I know somebody who worked on, not personally, I mean, but just I know their work. I'm like, oh, I really liked the way they wrote this character. I can't wait to see what they do with this game. And the converse is true too, where if you get burnt by a developer, you just probably going to go into their next project a little more skeptical of it.
Keiji Inafune comes to mind.
Yeah. One thing Jake Solomon had said, Scott asked him if there's kind of a fear, especially after Mass Effect Andromeda, because that was BioWare Montreal's first title as a collective studio. Of course, there were people there from earlier titles, but if there's a fear that your first failure could also be your last, and that might be what determines your career. I had asked, I believe it was Richard Garriott, who used to work at Looking Glass way back in the day, and then he did stuff at Origin, and now he's at Portalarium down in Austin. And he's also like an astronaut and shit now because of stuff he did back in the 90s. He essentially established immersive sims with Warren Spector and Paul Neurath. But he was saying that, there's that mantra that a developer is only as good as their last game, right? Like Keiji Inafune comes to mind too. I don't know. I think the one, we remember ReCore, we remember Mighty Number 9. I think about that before I think about the good Mega Man games now. And then Scott had been asking Jake if that fear is there, and Jake had been saying, yeah, it's kind of throughout development. You're trying to learn from failure, but also trying to push away the fear that it might sink you as a developer. And but then I want to look at more positive games as well. Callie, you had mentioned Doom. Pete, you had mentioned Breath of the Wild for games that it seemed like, the development studio, there's a lot of trust placed in them, and they kind of just prioritize maybe different things than I don't know, this might be reductive than EA might have with Mass Effect, for instance. In terms of Breath of the Wild, how do you think that kind of is the antithesis to the negative side of AAA development?
I think that kind of boils down, to a quote that maybe Miyamoto has sort of, instilled in a lot of people at Nintendo, and he definitely has a lot of sway there. Which it's along the lines of, a delayed game is eventually good. A rush game is bad forever, right? So like they understand that if they publish something shitty, that will sort of be the legacy that you guys were just talking about just now. Like that will be the persistent legacy until they can fix that somehow, right? But now, like with a great success like this, like they will be able to earn people's favor much more easily down the road. So yeah, delay this game a couple years to make sure that you can keep people on your good side.
Yeah, Kelly, and then you mentioned Doom, right? Because Doom got delayed for a while, and then Doom came out. That was like one of the better games last year. One of the best shooters in a while.
Yeah, I mean, Doom was the original was one of the first games I ever played, and the thing about the new one was that it felt like they respected the legacy of Doom, but didn't feel stuck on it. Like it didn't feel like stuck in the past either. Like it was a newer take on something that I loved when I was younger, and I thought they did a fantastic job with it, and I thought it like. A lot of people were like, "Oh, the music is really garish," but I think it fits the spirit of Doom, like that, just like over the top heavy metal, like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna kill demons." So, like, I just adored that game so much, and I loved finding the I think the collectibles were really good, and the being able to find the 16-bit or whatever levels, you can go kind of find those little mini levels. I loved so many things about that game, and I think it was better for the delay.
Yeah, there's another interesting part of this Jake Solomon interview in which Scott asked him if, when you see games in early access all the time and, Kickstarted and these people are kind of, supposedly have a say in development, these fans. Scott was asking Jake, at a certain point, is it more about the fans, what they want in a game, in a AAA game, or is it more about what the developers want to push out? And then Scott asked the question, if it becomes all about the fans, is there the danger of making it a poorly designed game because fans might not have the same knowledge as developers and might not have the same, definitely don't have the same creative intent as the developers. And then, Pete, you had mentioned like a lot of times over the years when you interviewed developers back in the day, or even like
question
recently,
would literally be to them, who knows best about your game, you or the fans? And Jake Solomon is the first person that ever said the fans. And he continued to say something along the lines of like, I have no grounds to get defensive about people criticizing my design decisions because it's a game I'm making for them. And that to me is just kind of insane because that draws a line in the sand between making something you're really passionate about or making something that you think is going to sell or just like please an audience, which this is a business. That is very important, right? But at the same time, there has to be an interesting balance. And he is just so far onto one side of that discussion. It's very surprising to hear that.
Yeah, normally I would say maybe that's just a PR response.
Maybe, but he sounded very candid.
He did, yeah, no, but he is. Throughout the years, he's always been kind of saying that. He said when they first started, because to reboot XCOM on 360 and then, with the Enemy Within, it was a slog. Like, I think there's a feature on Polygon a while ago about, like, just the stress it put on him for, like, over 10 years between pre-production and finally releasing it. And he was saying the entire time there was also the fear that fans of the original XCOMs back in the day, the isometric ones, would just hate him.
Right.
And maybe that played a part in his subsequent, being beholden to fans. But
I mean, they're certainly responsible for him being able to do what he continues to do, right? So why would he want to screw that up? Like that's easy to sympathize with. But at the same time, like, I feel like there has to be a better balance there. And I don't think that his work shows a lack of that balance. But his answer, again, it just made me, I don't know. He didn't seem to like see both sides. Yeah,
it was a bit of an anomaly. But I think the stuff's worth talking about, and it's a great interview. You should go read it between Scott Butterworth and Jake Solomon. It's on GameSpot. It's called XCOM Director on Why Some AAA Games Fail. It's pretty insightful in terms of AAA development, developing these huge budget games for these huge sales. But it's worth going to read, especially in the wake of Mass Effect Andromeda, which a lot of people criticize in terms of its release state. It is improved now in some aspects. There was the patch that released, and it helped with some of the animations, those eye things, technical issues, stutters, and whatnot. So if you have been holding off on Mass Effect Andromeda, maybe go check out some of our coverage on that and see if it's worth going back to. In the meantime, let us know what you think about this discussion. We do have the Twitch chat and the YouTube chat up right here. But also, if you're watching this later on YouTube or GameSpot, let us know what you think about AAA development and maybe what your takeaways are from that Jake Solomon interview if you get the chance to read it. All right, Michael, thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to boot you off for our resident Star Wars expert.
Peace out, man.
Yeah. Have a good day. Wait, what are you
Bye-bye.
working on the rest of the day, this weekend? Tech
I
stuff?
don't know. Yeah, I'm doing some tech stuff. Most of it's under NDA, so just keep
Well,
out
what
on
is it?
GameSpot. Tripping, man.
All right. Thanks, Michael.
All right, peace out, y'all.
We're bringing on Dr. Robert Handlery. He messaged me on my walk home last night, and he was saying, Battlefront 2 teaser trailer just leaked. And Callie will be at Star Wars Celebration Orlando as of Friday morning. So, like Star Wars stuff gearing up. We're all like hoping and praying for an episode 8 trailer as well at the end of. That's disgusting. Did you actually just touch your tongue with that?
No,
You've never seen
don't
that?
rewind that.
All right. But we wanted to bring Rob on because he was texting me pretty furiously about how some of our predictions that we were kind of nervous about after, I think it was last week. We did What We Want in Battlefront 2. We were like, shit, we didn't even talk about like the New Order or whatnot and everything. We're like, that would make sense because that's the last movie that came out. And we were talking about the Clone Wars. We're like, what were we thinking? But then Rob texted me. He's like, dude, it's all 3 eras. I'm like, oh, now we look kind of smart. But I wanted to bring you on. We're going to have Jean-Luc and Bat kind of scrub through the teaser trailer. From what you say, like there's a decent amount of things you looked at. You went crazy, like scientists looking at.
There's a little more that you might have missed.
Yeah.
By that
dang.
30-second quick trailer. So here it is. We'll just kind of watch it once.
Yeah.
Again, just to preface all this, like this is still going to be a lot of speculation. I mean, what is confirmed, right, based on this, is that you are playing as, I would believe, a female Imperial officer of some sort, but after Return of the Jedi. So post Death Star 2, the Fall of the Empire, which I think it's kind of surprising, but it ultimately makes so much sense as far as, okay, they want to tell a story that hasn't been told. This is all ideally. And that has not really been told. That whole gap. And there was the book Aftermath and all that stuff. But this is still untouched. And also, they probably have a lot more freedom as Lucasfilm. I'm sure everyone knows it's like constantly gripping, right? Like they are very uptight with anything. It's, it's their baby. So it's a great timepiece. I mean, that's super interesting.
Yeah, it does. It seems kind of like it's doing what Rogue One did in the sense that Rogue One it didn't really bridge the gap between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, but it still filled in some info that we had only heard alluded to in A New Hope.
Peter,
what is this?
He is squinting
What are you doing?
me to death.
With Yoda and Kylo Ren in the same trailer?
Okay, no, so that's where, if there's one thing that we mentioned last week, or predictions, that seems to be the case, is that we are going to get the hero system again.
So when you say timepiece, that's what I'm like, what? Like I understand like that part you're describing, but then it just all kind of gets flushed down the toilet when they show like everyone's here.
Yes, I am 100%
It's like the Harlem Globetrotters.
So-
of Star
I am
Wars.
on board with you.
Yeah, you
so
got Darth Maul, you got Yoda, you got Rey, and you got Kylo Ren.
to me, what this infers, again, the hero system strictly for multiplayer. I would be very surprised
Of
if
course.
they are going all over the place in the single player campaign.
I think the single player campaign this time around, which if you don't know, Battlefront 2 does have a dedicated single player campaign with a story and everything. I would be surprised. Yeah, I mean, like they would keep. I'm assuming they'll keep the multiplayer, that kind of Star Wars toy box aspect. Like
Battlefront
Star
2.
Wars fantasy, like Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
And then you have this focused single player story, which will fill in the gaps between Return of the Jedi and
Force Awakens.
Yes.
I don't know how far, because I think they're also playing it safe where it's still like familiar original trilogy, right? Like, I mean, there's still Star Destroyers. There's still going to be TIE fighters. Granted, there were TIE fighters, obviously Force Awakens. But I'm curious to see how far they go, because, I mean, what's that gap? It's like over 20 years, I believe.
At least.
Yeah. So I wouldn't expect to see any major. I mean, you might see Snoke. Maybe that's. I mean, that's when he picks up everything, right? So maybe that's. I could almost see like the character you play as defecting in the end, almost like a Finn kind of role. It seems like they're kind of taking picks. So if we have that trailer, we can kind of start combing through, because I have got a couple cool notes.
Have Jean-Luc throw that up, and Rob can kind of narrate it. And
yeah. So I
scrub
mean,
through it.
Yeah, you're inferring because there's a voice, right? She's I believe the line. I should remember the line. If you pause it right here, go back.
Is that her, the protagonist?
I would imagine that's a close up. I mean,
So, like-
someone is talking right now, I think she says along the lines of like the Emperor is dead. We need to get revenge, right?
So she's still with the
She
Empire
remembers her
on
last
Endor.
orders. Yeah.
Yeah. So
At
this
least.
is Endor. Now these are not your typical stormtroopers, right? These are kind of like. It's like almost like they're pulling from Rogue One, right? With those the Death Squad troopers.
Oh, these look like more like pilots to me when I first
That's
saw them.
what I'm gathering too. So this is where it's all speculation. However, again, I was looking in all the Reddit stuff. If you watch Rebels, the show, that droid they're hovering around right there, obviously on the left, is an ID9 seeker droid. Bam! Wow, John Luke.
Wow, that was.
So that's
it
from
looked like
Rebels.
a Imperial probe droid from far away.
Yeah.
But they're a little cooler, Mike.
how so?
Supposedly, these in the show, I have not seen the show, unfortunately, but they crawl, they fly, they mimic other droids. They have electric probes. They're kind of like a cool sidekick.
Okay.
So I can see that playing a nice role as you are, which now is speculation even further. Is that you play? So this is a character that's from the Rebels. She is a Jedi hunter, like a Sith Inquisitor or Imperial Inquisitor. Is that the role you're playing? Because you're definitely not. You know, if you were to compare it to Finn, you're not a janitor, right?
Yeah.
You're higher up. You're flying around in that slick-looking ship that it reminds me of Darth Maul's infiltrator. You're higher up, is what I'm under the impression of.
I mean, she specifically, she sounds kind of like lamentful about, she's like, I remember the last orders I had, or I can't remember the exact line, but she's talking about that, and she's called the untold soldier story.
Right.
So
Which
that's
is-
very likely.
Which is
Right.
weird because, like Force Awakens, a big thing with Finn is that they're kind of implying he's not just this normal person, because I'm wondering why like the Imperial brainwashing or whatever they do wouldn't work on her specifically. Like, why would she have a change of heart?
Oh, that's a good point. Well, maybe it's
The whole thing
just-
with Finn is everybody's theory is, oh, he's Force sensitive. He really is. And then that's why
Right,
he
he was
was like turning
brainwashed.
around. That's why Phasma did the whole like go back to conditioning or whatever in
Well,
Force Awakens.
in this era of the three eras, how stormtroopers are picked is you can volunteer. It's possible she volunteered.
Just as the fight with the rebellion got worse, they needed volunteers.
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, and I would say that, as this new First Order is being established, maybe that's why she defects. Again, who knows if she does or not. But
This-
yeah, look at that.
This
Like,
helmet in the back.
yeah,
is
right.
Sick.
This seems like a pretty unique squad.
I think,
of,
are they implying that that's the helmet she would be wearing if she had one on? Because that's a red helmet in the back. I don't know. Reading too far into it, but that's a cool helmet.
Totally.
It looks like a black stormtrooper with like a red on the side. I don't
some
know.
red touch? And you know what? That's like that reminds me of First Order, right? That's what
Yeah.
the First Order so
Or-
blatantly vamped on, just like
Or there's red
Total
light. 'cause
Nazi
she,
stuff.
She has red on her shoulder too.
yeah.
True.
So if we can just keep moving along. There's not a whole lot. Yeah. So this reminds me a lot. Sorry, this is Darth Maul's cruiser, the Infiltrator, I believe it's called, Sith Infiltrator, and it just reminded me a lot of the ship you see. This is small. I would say like a smaller form. So if you keep playing, or you now start the trailer, really, I think it kicks off with that. Perfect. If you rewind a little more, yeah, like the first shot I think had a better take of it. I know Jean-Luc is frantically scrubbing. And again, more about, this trailer was 30 seconds. It felt quick. And we have been told that we're expecting something really big, right? A really big reveal. So
This weekend, right?
I feel like this is just a TV ad. You know what I mean? It felt very spoon-fed with all this text. Like, so here's this classic dogfight. So that's Starkiller Base. So you can definitely count on maybe replaying that battle from Force Awakens in multiplayer.
Or like, I mean, ideally in my
What the hell?
Yeah. Exclusive gameplay.
No Man's Sky is not in Battlefront 2.
So that's cool. So if you rewind a little bit more,
Was that
what I'm stoked on is that if again the Force Awakens was really neat with their it reminds you a lot of again like World War II, like just Nazi red flags, like
Yeah.
blatantly evil, and that's what was so neat about Force Awakens. So you're seeing a lot of that here, which is really neat, right? Like the tree and the flag in the background. I think that is a cool visual style and palette that works well. We've seen it in Battlefield 1, you know what I mean? With like a lot of orange and like against just really bland, dark, desaturated ground. It's cool. If you keep going. This is
Pretty obvious nod to the first trailer, right? Or when the Resistance is coming in to
exactly, and that is the. I wrote that down. What's the planet? Because I don't remember it. Tacona. I didn't write it down.
when they go see Maz
Oh yeah, what is that?
to the temple.
God, it's Tacona.
It's the
or
new
something like that.
Cantina planet.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So you can imagine some stuff there, and of course, what everyone's remembering is all right, Tauntaun,
Yeah.
which to me says we're going back to Hoth, and I don't give a f about Hoth, man.
Yeah.
I think that is just the most tired level in all Star Wars games. I just don't care. Even walkers, I don't know. I like, and that's where I think it's not a bummer, but I think it's like again smart. I mean, everyone knows of Imperial walkers and stuff. Like it's just. It's interesting. It's a cooler story, new locations. Yeah, it's kind of the same stuff, and I'm hoping for Rebel vehicles, to be honest.
If it is a TV spot, then it would make sense that they would include more,
That's
like the most
fair.
recognizable imagery. I think, and it. I mean, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's a good point. I mean, let's hope that's. I don't know. And you know what's funny thing too is like think about Battlefield 1, like the horses, like they had horses. It's like. Someone was just like, dude, let's do Tauntauns. I don't know. It's just like funny thing. And then obviously here's Maul and Yoda. Because remember that?
This just instantly turns me on. Like, I don't know.
Dude,
Yeah.
It bothers me so much. It's just
It
an
does
easy
bother
way
me.
to devalue these characters.
But I mean, the original, not that this makes it okay, but the original Battlefront 1 and 2 had like these kind of battles in the multiplayer, and they did it well, I think, because it was more about, just this Star Wars fans' fantasy in the multiplayer.
Sure.
Which I'm fine with that here if they do use like that more gritty, boots on the ground soldier story that seems like, I mean, based on this teaser, they're going to do. And
But
I
don't
have
we already kind of have the fantasy thing in the last game and the one from years ago?
Right, so that's what I'm saying. I'm hoping I'm
Right.
getting more grounded thing in the single player campaign. So if they're just going to do this in multiplayer, then I guess that's fine if they can do it well. But I'm hoping like, I don't know, you can keep scrubbing through, I guess, Rob. But
yeah, I don't know. Again, we talked about it, the hero system. I mean, there's there's a part of me that wants to see how they do like Kylo Ren, right? You see him in the end.
Yeah.
If you remember from the movies, like he did stop a bullet from like full speed heading towards. Well, how did that even happen? I forget. Who shot that? It was
Poe Dameron.
Poe. Yeah. I mean, he just stopped a bullet. Like that'd be a cool move. But again, I don't care to play as any of these heroes.
Yep. Yeah.
So that is just like a straight up shot from Force Awakens. It looks like not an like actual shot, but very reminiscent.
Yeah.
It is interesting to me that they are, including the Clone War era, the prequel era, which we had actually said we hoped for, because that was the one redeeming quality for me for the prequels was the actual, the battles, the Clone Wars themselves they were covering. I think Callie, you and Rob, you had both said the same thing. You were hoping it.
Yeah, I really wanted to do like actual battles, like on a larger scale. I'm less drawn towards the individual like hero stuff than I am towards the grander scale of it.
Yeah. This is toward the end of the trailer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is it. Oh, okay.
And then here, obviously, like I mean, there's that like row. It's funny how they're just like feels like they're nitpicking different aspects. I just keep thinking of Jyn Erso, like that one shot, which they never end up using in the movie, but just that Imperial pilot look is cool. And then also in the background, someone pointed out like separatist ships. I can't really. I guess on the left there, that's a separatist ship.
Oh.
From
Confederacy
Clone
stuff.
Wars. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they're gonna focus too much on Rogue One if they already did all that DLC with the first game.
Oh.
Well, if you see the bottom there, you're definitely going to get some Last Jedi stuff. So
yeah, I wanted to point
old
that
Luke.
out. Yeah. Oh my god.
Wait, what? You can. Oh my God.
I'm speculating.
Rey and old Luke, yeah.
Luke Skywalker with the cane.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything else to add? Are you? Okay. Actually, I want to ask you guys. Are you more excited for the game now after seeing this?
Yeah, I'm much more excited about this game. Namely the single player. I think that's cool. I'm really hoping they do something neat with that. Yeah, like tell a really interesting story. And again, like that's hard to do in a universe like with the original trilogy or any of these, because it's been told. Like, how do you tie in a character with fan favorites? Like, I hope they don't do that as much, obviously, but it just feels like a clean plate, and that's really nice.
Kelly, you'll be seeing this soon. A couple days, 3 days or so.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm gonna be that person and say I'm always more excited for like more female heroes in Star Wars, just because I was really into Star Wars as a kid, and that was the one thing that was always missing for me. So the kid in me gets just really excited about having another female hero to whose story we get to tell. And I am also one of those people who liked Rogue One. I really enjoyed Rogue One, so I'm excited about the prospect of doing sort of like you were saying, a more like soldier war focused sort of thing with her. So I'm very intrigued by her.
You don't seem too excited.
I mean, I'm with you guys, right? I like the idea that it's going to have single player. There's like, how do we know it's going to be any good? How do we?
Yeah,
know,
I know. Yeah,
like I can't get excited for anything yet because this
Sure.
this is literally just like people you love ships that look awesome.
Yeah.
You love Star Wars, right? Okay.
I don't think you do love Star Wars, Pete.
I like Star Wars when it's not just exploited for the just to sell things.
dude,
Right.
I am 100%.
I hope they pull more from Battlefield 1 than they do from Battlefront with this. Like being DICE, I hope
Yeah,
they
exactly.
take cues from Battlefield 1's gameplay.
It,
I don't want.
You
I don't
and I-
mean story wise. Like I don't want like stormtroopers running into the trenches on Verdun or something. That's not what I meant.
You and I are just a couple of war shooter fans.
Yeah.
That's just what we
yeah, I mean,
Tell that story.
and
Yeah.
and that's where I'm a little concerned as well, in that of what like action, not gameplay, obviously, that we've seen, it still looks exactly like Battlefront.
Yeah.
And like again, one of my frustrations with Battlefront was just the lack of like diversity. It's just like Imperial walkers, rebels getting stomped on. Like, I am really overseeing that, and that is littered with it. And it looked a lot like Battlefront. It looks good, but it looked a lot like that last game. So I really want to see some new stuff. But that's what's neat about this idea is that, at least for the single player, like it seems a little more open ended.
All right. Well, people watching, if you're in the chat right now, or if you're watching this on YouTube or GameSpot after the fact, let us know what you think about Battlefront 2. Let us know if you're excited for it. Let us know if we missed anything in the trailer that you noticed. And this weekend, we have a lot of Star Wars coverage between Battlefront 2 and, we're hoping they're going to show The Last Jedi at the end of Star Wars Celebration, maybe after that panel. Rob, do you have coverage planned in the case of that happening
Damn right.
on Friday?
Yeah.
You wanna
Peter,
that?
myself, and Josh Shaw will be an hour and a half before what we are expecting to be the release and reveal of the first trailer for Last Jedi, which is 9:30
Pacific time.
Pacific time.
Yeah.
Because it's in Orlando. So we are going to play Star Wars games up until what we believe that reveal to be.
It's like 8 a.m. You're going to start playing Star Wars games. 9:30, we're hoping the reveal
That's
will happen
right.
over in Orlando.
Well, we're planning to play multiple, but I think we're just going to play Rebel Assault 2 because it's so good.
If you're not playing Shadows of the Empire, I'm not watching.
that game
Go-
sucks. You are. Oh my god.
We were talking about it
Oh my god.
the other day. Dude, I honestly, of the 364 games, Squadron, Pod Racing, and Shadow, I like am more reluctant to play Shadow.
Get a poster of Shadow. It's got rad cover art. That game sucks.
Dash Rendar?
Yeah, cool name.
Bullet Vest?
I like your jetpack, Dash Rendar.
Fight Boba Fett?
If there's one thing we're definitely going to do for Shadow, and the only thing I want to do, and then we can switch,
That
is
sewer level? Oh.
the code. Remember how you did? Oh,
Sure.
the
Yeah. you
ultimate.
could yeah.
Where you had to
I'm not
touch-
watching.
You had to hold
Good.
every single button on the controller and then move the stick halfway to the right, halfway to the left, back and forth. And I remember doing it as a kid. I was like, well, I guess I'll just use my mouth.
Hey Rob, I need you to help me. What are you doing?
Exactly. A couple times, like, what are you doing? Hey, your code. Pod Racer.
I'm done talking for the rest of
But-
the
It's
show.
all right.
Good.
It's okay. It's okay. And then the one, sorry to cut you off, but then the one is, and Peter was showing me because I've never played it, is Rebel Salt
2.
2.
Yeah.
Has like, has some of the most amazing FMV.
Yeah. Really bad FMV, really bad gameplay.
Yeah.
But
Does it have, can you trip AT-ATs before you could, wait, can you in Red Bull Assault 2?
no.
You can in Shadows of the Empire, and
You
that
can
was the
trip
first time I did
AT-ATs
that.
in so many other Star
Yeah,
Wars games.
subsequent
that are
games.
good.
Talk
This was the
about how
first.
overkill that was.
I like Lego Star Wars.
There you go.
Hey, Lego Star Wars.
Lego
is good.
Star Wars owns. Anyway, yeah,
Pod
we'll also
Racer's better
have
than Shadows of the Empire.
Yeah.
we'll also have more on Battlefront 2 this weekend because of Celebration.
Yes,
so look out for that.
Yes, so stream 8 o'clock Pacific time, these two jamokes will be playing all these shitty Star Wars games leading up to the hopeful 9:30 Pacific announcement of the first Last Jedi trailer. Callie will be having some Battlefront 2 stuff, like she said, coming out of Orlando this weekend. She'll be able to have more hands-on impressions, or no?
No hands-on.
Okay,
but
she'll be able to see more.
Interviews
Eyes on.
and eyes on.
Ears and eyes.
Yes. Oh, and yeah, I'll be able to hear it as well.
Yeah, and if you're in the Twitch chat right now, Khaleesi Plays at Ashiva, who manages our Twitter account, she just posted the link to our lobby giveaway. If you missed it earlier in the show, go follow GameSpot if you don't on Twitter, and then retweet that giveaway tweet. Later on the week, we will pick a random winner to get that Corsair Strafe mechanical PC gaming keyboard. So look forward to that. Triforce tomorrow. You and Rob will be playing Zelda.
Yes.
Do you know what you're doing for this episode?
Yeah.
Last week was so good. If you haven't seen it yet,
Last week was pretty special.
Please
Yeah.
go watch last week's
Yeah.
because I was like cackling at my desk.
It was us at our worst, maybe best, but mostly worst.
For those of you who don't know, it's Peter and I play Legend of Zelda a little differently, or try to. So, Triforce.
I just got that.
Oh my god! Last week, one of us was blindfolded, the other one was directing. We did across the whole map, tried to do it, and it was exhausting on the mind.
Also, take a shot every time Rob says, "Describe it to me." Because,
Describe it to me.
I mean, don't, because you would probably die of alcohol poisoning.
But this week, Peter, you want to explain it?
Yeah, we're gonna do Eventide, Island, but no weapons, only rune
Eventide.
powers. Eventide. So yeah, just rune powers. I mean, it's like a challenging thing anyway. So without any equipment that you would find along the way, it might be a little bit harder.
I just hope we can do it. Now that I think about it, because the last thing we'd want is to be like, all right, it's 2 hours.
But at least we can see this time.
How
Yeah.
are you going to get the octo balloon you need?
What?
I guess we'll figure that out.
We
I mean, once we'll get to the island, and crap, do you
this
really
was
need
us.
one on the island?
Oh, yeah. They have this really good hat, too. It's good.
I made that in like
He
10
did.
minutes.
Like
Yes.
right before the stream.
It's still in the stream room.
I had a dream that if you had like an hour to make that hat, how glorious it would have looked.
Oh my god, this was one of the worst parts right here. It was that we found a Phoenix sleeping, and I'm like,
Guardian.
oh, this is a breeze. We'll walk around it, and then this guy Phoenix wakes up. Oh my god, I was freaking out. There was a part of me that was like, oh my god, we're done. Like the
This was
stream's
like
over.
a minute in the stream.
It is so
really
hard
good.
to tell someone how to play a game when they're not looking.
You were really
Turns
good
out.
at getting him to parry the laser shots, though. That's hard. You were able to time that really well.
And Peter is really good at messing with me.
It's an experience.
even that
Just
bad.
watch
Getting
it.
you to put the
Just
wrong
watch it.
outfit on for climbing.
I was like, I got to put my climbing gear on. And he's like, okay. And there's this bit where I'm hovering over a Lazalfa monster mask. And I was like, is this it? He's like, yeah, that's it. I was like, this is convenient. He's like, I didn't find out till later because eventually you start hearing the noises of it. And I was just like, yes.
You looked great.
Super funny.
You looked great.
All right, everyone. So yeah, tune in tomorrow for Triforce. That is the episode. They'll be doing that episode tomorrow. Pete just described on Eventide Island. And like I said, we might have a Diablo 3 stream sometime this week for the Necromancer. I have to double check with Eric Tay. We might not. But yeah, thank you so much for joining. And as always, we will see you next week.
It'll work eventually. There it goes.